So Geeking cool.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of So Geeking Cool. I'm Frank,
And I'm Derrick.
and we are here to talk about our CoastCon experience.
CoastCon.
So I think I will start off by letting Derrick have the floor because Derrick actually did his first cosplay. So why don't you tell our viewers about that?
Cosplay. CoastCon. So much and so many emotions ran through on the day leading up to CoastCon. I think we drove down maybe to get there because you had an experience with the 501st and you had a certain time to be there. But for me, so many emotions, nervous, excited, uh, didn't know what to expect, didn't know how many people to expect. So my emotions were all over the place. But luckily, we got there good enough time before it got started, got in, and Frank had to do some things before, and I'll let him go into details about that later. But um, very small con, very family feel, maybe I would say. Uh, a great experience for me to first time cosplay. Uh, and I was a little nervous beforehand. I was a little nervous to actually to actually cosplay.
Right. So just for our viewers' sake, did you show up in costume? Did you change when you got there? What was your strategy of attack?
I showed up as a civilian, uh, and I was nervous, and I was like, well, maybe Frank has to do his cosplay with the 501st, and it take all day, and I don't get a chance to. Uh, because I was kind of, again, a little nervous, a little uneasy, just didn't know how to feel. Um, but we got a chance to cosplay, and so excited, and the reaction I received from um, people, vendors, and everyone, it made me feel welcome. It made me feel good, and it really gave me some motivation to continue the journey.
What would you say was your favorite reaction to any of the guests, any of the vendors? I know you told me in particular about someone who was at the entrance who was kind of talking about your costume.
Correct. But I guess the most warming feeling that I received from that event from that day was the kids. Recognizing who I was actually cosplaying. And again, didn't know what to expect, but kids running up, Lando, can I get a picture? And parents asking, um, you know, could they take a picture with you? So that was very, very warming to my heart, and it made me feel very good as I had done some good. But again, uh, the costume was well received and well recognized.
Yeah. Now you were talking about my experience with the 501st. So this was my first official troop, and of course I was very excited to show off my A New Hope Darth Vader costume, and I was really a little bit nervous. We had talked about. I wasn't quite sure what the rules were. I really didn't know what to think as far as um, was I going to get along with everybody. There was a person who I've trooped with before, just not in an official 501st event, named Sammy, who was there. So that took a little bit of the pressure off of me. Sammy is a TK
Now,
or a
was he a stormtrooper?
stormtrooper.
Okay,
Yep.
okay, okay.
And he actually had helped with our bell ringing event with Hub City Heroes.
Okay.
Super great guy, excellent costumer. I really like Sammy a lot, and so that kind of put me at ease. But when I first met Chip, who I think was kind of running the show from what I could tell for the 501st, he got my badge to me, and he was very warm and welcoming. My wife Kelly was with us, and they kind of immediately took her under their wing, and she had a blast. It was great. There was a Empire Strikes Back Darth Vader who was there also, Alex, who had some experience trooping, and he was very, very accommodating. He said, "We'll break this up however you want to. You spend an hour or two in the suit, then I'll spend an hour or two in the suit." The really cool thing is Alex and I are about the same height. Now he's a little bit bulkier than I am. I think he does some personal training on the side, so a little bit better shape than I'm in. But the coolest thing was when I was in my costume, and then I switched and he got in the costume, there were several people, friends of mine, who actually couldn't tell the difference. They were talking to him, and then when I walked up, they're like, "Wait a second, I thought you were in the costume." Now, when you and I were getting ready to head down, we talked about trying to get some footage, and that didn't quite work out the way we thought it would this time. We did get a little bit of footage, which we'll share later, but it was overwhelming to be in costume and to try to film at the same time.
Correct.
So I think next time.
Correct. I think next time, I think you have to make a decision. Okay, are we going to do this media and get footage, or we're going to cosplay, or something similar to what you and Alex had worked out? Okay, maybe we would get some footage now and then cosplay a little later. But we do have some photos and some limited footage that we would share with you guys.
Definitely. And like you said, CoastCon, I wouldn't say it's necessarily a small con. I think the turnout maybe this year wasn't as large as it's been in years past, but it definitely has a hometown feel. It definitely feels
44 years.
Yes, and it feels like you're coming home, right? I know you haven't been to Pensacon yet, but you can compare it to Mississippi Comic Con, and it is a more close-knit feeling, I think.
Correct. Now let me. Okay, so cosplaying. In my head, I was thinking, like, if I went to Pensacon, I would kind of blend in with everybody. In CoastCon, I was out there. I wouldn't say I was the main feature, but they knew Lando was there.
Yeah, and I think that was actually really cool. With the two of us walked around together. So what happened is after I did Darth Vader, I changed into my Han Solo costume, and that's when he put on the Lando costume. So I think the moment that the two of us were walking through, especially, there were lots of people yelling out, "Han, Lando!" And so that, I think it would have been epic if we had been able to take part in the costume contest, but we both had prior obligations, and it just didn't work out. But
I think we would have won.
I think so. I mean, I'm not to be too arrogant, but we look pretty awesome. It was a lot of fun. I think you got to participate in a couple of panels.
Correct.
And this was the first time panel?
First time.
Yeah, okay.
First time. So I went to two panels, and one panel was Marvel versus DC. So I was kind of just sitting, soaking everything up. But it was a panel. They were just going through the movies and going through the characters and letting people that were not in the panel, but letting the viewers or what have you vote as to what they liked best. And Marvel won. I didn't actually participate in voting, but Marvel won.
Fascinating.
I think that you could definitely start a debate here when it comes to Marvel versus DC. People have a lot of strong opinions. It's like asking Star Trek versus Star Wars, right?
Right.
I like both.
I like Star Wars.
Well, you haven't watched any Star Trek. You don't know if you like it or not. So I would say you definitely need to watch some Star Trek. And I want some people to comment suggesting episodes from the original series, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Enterprise, even the new stuff. Whatever you think would be a good starting point for him, let's get that out there.
Make it so.
And we will try to make sure he actually watches them. And maybe it won't take 5 years.
I got a bad feeling about this.
But we'll see how that works out. But when it comes to Marvel versus DC, I've always been a huge Captain America fan. I'm a big Green Lantern fan. Batman, Superman. When it comes to DC, switching back to Marvel, I've always been a fan of the Avengers, Daredevil. I was a really big fan of Beta Ray Bill, which is another version of Thor.
Okay.
I knew you were about to ask me who it was. And there was actually, I went through a period where I was a big Ghost Rider fan, and they had Ghost Rider and the Spirits of Vengeance. So you had different versions of Ghost Rider.
Now that's DC?
No, that's still Marvel.
Okay.
On DC, I think I've always been a big fan of course, the Michael Keaton Batman. I'm a big fan. I'm actually working on updating a cosplay for the 1989 Joker, and
wait till they get a load of me.
I can't wait to preview that, and I may actually do a sneak peek here on the channel.
That'd be something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that I wanted to talk about before we jump back to the con real quick is this is a time for us to celebrate women, right? And women in comics have a long history, and I think Wonder Woman has always been kind of an iconic character. She's a DC character.
Right.
You have plenty of strong female characters to choose from, and my wife cosplays. She's a big fan of Black Widow.
Okay.
That's probably her number one cosplay. She also is a big fan of Marvel's Amora, the Enchantress. She couldn't wait to do that cosplay. Even before I was going to do Loki, she was the one who was really excited to do the Enchantress. So,
which led to you doing Loki.
Right.
Okay.
And I just wanted to take a second to appreciate all of the female cosplayers out there who are big fans. I know sometimes you guys have to defend whether or not you're actual fans, which is definitely not fair. Like I said, Kelly knows just as much about her favorite characters as I do about mine. She has suffered endless hours of Star Trek with me. She's watched Indiana Jones, I can't tell you how many times, Star Wars, you name it. She's always right there with me. And even if she's not as excited to watch it, she still has a good time. And she points out stuff that I miss all the time. I mean, I think that's something that's really cool.
Yeah.
And I will go on record as saying none of my costumes would be possible without her. So,
and I'll second that. Me too as well.
Right. Yeah.
Thanks.
So back to CoastCon. One of the things that really stuck out to me was when we did the 501st panel. There was a lot of younger people in the audience, which is exciting because you always want to see growth in whatever hobby you're into, or at least I do.
Okay, and let's pause for a second because I want to get into something, but I want you to explain something before I get into it, explain to the viewers 501st. What is 501st?
The 501st is the official fan group for the bad guys when it comes to Star Wars. I think what I heard at the panel, which I really liked, was it's bad guys doing good, because they do a lot of charity work. They do a lot of hospital visits. They raise money for different things. If you look right now on my personal Facebook page, you'll see that I just shared that they're raising money for the Make-A-Wish Foundation, which is a big charity that they're always involved with. And on the flip side, you have the Rebel Legion, which is the good guys, right? At least from their point of view. And from my point of view, the 501st, Darth Vader was the chosen one, and he did bring balance to the Force. So let me just remind everybody of that. But the two groups work hand in hand. You'll often see them at conventions set up side by side, and there's a lot of crossover from what I can tell. There's a lot of people who are in the 501st who are also in the Rebel Legion, and vice versa. So what did you want to get into?
Well, I just wanted to get into them making me feel welcome as well, inviting me to have my costume certified. Of course, there are a few more things and additions that I need to do, but just to that was big for me, because I know what it means to you when you had your Vader certified 501st, and so they were asking me to get my costume certified through Rebel Legion.
Right. Which, again, in my opinion, early on in Empire Strikes Back, Lando was kind of he was a little bit of a heel, right? Yeah, he betrayed Han. I had no choice. But, I'm just saying. But
he
I think
redeemed himself.
he did redeem himself. I'm just messing with you. Han, he was a lovable scoundrel through the whole thing. That's all I'm saying. But one of the things that I think was fairly interesting too is when we did go to that panel, they brought you up and even mentioned your costume, and it really did. We talked about that later, that made you feel very special.
That really, and everyone there, from vendors to the panelists. I met one guy, Michael Dixon.
Yeah.
Correct. I met him in the parking lot first, and then I went to sit in a panel that him and Rafe did, the Marvel versus DC, and I sat in the 501st panel as well. But everyone there made me feel welcome. They didn't know it was some knew, who we had conversations with, but everyone there, it's not like I had a stamp on my head said first time cosplayer.
He kind of did, right? I mean, just really, he's kind of wandering around.
But
Where's
everyone,
the bathroom?
everyone, I did have a hard time trying to find the bathroom. Right. I did, but everyone made me feel welcome, and it just made me feel good, because I kind of thought that I was out of place a little bit, or nervous about, is everyone looking at me? What do they think? Is my costume a hit, or, but everyone welcomed me with open arms and received my costume well.
Right. And I think it was kind of cool. You mentioned Michael. He actually does, in conjunction with his daughter, books. They have their own comic book for her, Grumpy Molly.
Okay, I'm not sure the name.
Yeah, it's really cool. If you get a chance, check it out. And if I didn't get the title right, send all of your complaints to Derrick Ware. So we will
laugh it up, fuzzball.
Anyway, I think in conclusion, what the main thing I would like to say about CoastCon is if you get a chance to go, definitely check it out. It is a great con. They're great people that run it. Everybody goes out of their way to make you feel welcome, and it's not so intimidating that you can't go and relax and have a great time. The costume contest is a lot of fun. Everyone's very supportive, even the people you're competing against. They do a great job of making you feel welcome. So thank you for joining us. I'm Frank.
And I'm Derrick.
And this has been
So Geeking Cool.
So Geeking Cool.